So let's talk about some lights. We already talked about the visor lights and the backpack lights and all the different small lights that went into putting together the head. How we initially had little LEDs as a prototype to get the lights in the visor, and then we went to like those LED strips that were 12 volt and much easier to manage and produced a lot more light. So now we're going to talk about the torso lights. So there's a few torso lights, 5 of them. So there's a primary light, which I choose to flash. It's a single light by itself. And then beside that, down the way on the lid of the chest is the 2 other lights. And then in the back, there's 2 lights as well. And then don't forget, there's also a light in the back of the head in that circle. Backpack light, we already talked about last time. So we got these lights, we want to get them going on. So we have an Arduino. The Arduino, breadboard, some little jumper wires. They come in all sorts of different colors. They come male, female ends. And so the Arduino is going to be the brain behind the lights. It's going to also provide a little bit of power to the lights because these are only 3 volt LEDs. And so we are going to run some power. So I could talk about that in a bit more detail. So we figured out where the lights are going to go. We need to mount the lights. So mounting the lights, first of all, we have like a lens that goes over top of the whole Droid division. When they give you the plans, they actually give you, obviously you could print the lid, for example, that's where most of the lights live. So the lid comes with a hole where the LEDs can go through. A lot of good planning went into these designs. And then he also gives you the print pieces for the lenses. So you can print the lens of whatever color you want. I just chose white just for something simple and quick. I eventually painted it orange, thinking that would be okay. Didn't like that. And then my daughter ordered some amber colored, like a yellow traffic light color for a print that she was doing. And so I borrowed a bit of it and printed the ones that we have now. So the visor light, just so you know, is a white light with amber lights behind it. And the chest lights are amber lenses with white lights behind them. I'm just trying to see which one I like more. Do I like the amber lights or do I like to have white? So when it's illuminated, there's a little bit of white in the center that you can see. Honestly, this is prototype. I just wanted some lights in the Droid that work and are cool. They're sort of hard to see when it's lit, when it's really lit. But I need to come up with this. I really, in my dream, want this to be fully lit for all of them, right? And so that guy's just sort of static there. Obviously, the headlights are on. And then the back, I don't know if I can get to backpack light. There it is. And there's your backlights there. I like the amber lenses. I think they look really clean. And then that light behind it, I like that as well. I'm going to say that might be an amber light back there because it's still using amber lights in here, not the white LEDs. So we got the lights set up and installed into the body, and I needed to have like a little housing that went behind them. So I printed this small housing, just a little box, and basically glued it originally onto the inside of the lid. Probably not the best idea. Glue is rather permanent. And then I was able to run the wires for the LEDs. Every LED has two sticks, right? There's a metal legs, if you want to call it, and there's one leg that's longer than the other. The longer leg is positive, the shorter leg is negative. So you have to run your power accordingly, even though it's only 3 volts. If you cross the wires, remember Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams. Why? It would be bad.
So if you invert the power, you could burn out the bulb. If you do that with higher voltage, like here, that's why we do smoke tests for the servos, because we're dealing with the RC batteries, a lot of power. So yeah, that's the housing I initially built, prototype. Just how am I going to get these lights to stay inside the torso? The torso is very popular. I lift it all the time to get inside and look at the wiring for all the other servos and the Raspberry Pi, and there's 2 different Arduinos in there. So I'm always going in and out. So I didn't want the wires just to be sort of hanging there, stuck inside the lid. I wanted there to be something a bit more permanent that would hold them. So decided to heat shrink the lights. So how am I going to get the female end of these jumper wires to go onto the I'm gonna look up what the words for those stupid things are. I need to heat shrink the ends of the wires for the jumpers so that they'll connect to the LEDs. So I did that. It's not really the best solution, but it works. There's still no guarantee that it's going to stay in. Technically, soldering would be the best bet, right? With all wiring, you want to solder, then heat shrink. This makes a more permanent connection. Again, this is just quick and dirty, right? Rapid development. I want to get some lights in there. Then I had to mark the ends. So I bought a silver and a gold Sharpie. Silver means hot, gold means negative, obviously, and so it's in the ground. And so that was how I denoted positive and negative lines, because these jumper wires are all sorts of different colors. Traditionally in electronics, black means cold, red means hot. I just don't have enough black and red wires to do all the wiring for the Droid, unless I buy a spool of it. But these jumper wires come specially with ends, female male. So I just mark them. Seems pretty simple, right? Mark your wires. You'll save yourself a headache down the road, especially when you got a zillion wires, all these different lights going on. So we do prototyping in the office. I just, fiddled around with an Arduino, a couple jumper wires, and some LED. That really is all you need to do power for an LED light, right? You just need a positive and negative running to it, and you have, a pinout on the Arduino, and some numbered pin, like pin 3, let's say, and then there's a ground pin entry as well on the rail on the Arduino. And so yeah, you can basically power the light from there. They don't require a whole lot of power. And then based on the code that you write for the Arduino, you can then say, I want this to flash. So basically you say, power on that pinout, and then you could make it sleep, and which makes it stay on, and then the next command can be power off, and then you just run that in a loop, and now you have yourself a flashing light. Not rocket science at all. Pretty interesting. And something that's really cool is Tinkercad allows you to fake this sort of code. So you can drag and drop the Arduino in there and your batteries and all your stuff for your lights, and then you can have code that fakes what it would do. So like, you don't even have to have an Arduino yet. You can do all your prototyping even online to see what you think your wiring is going to do. I did this for servos a little bit too. It was cold outside in the shop in the winter. I didn't want to go and be messing around out there, so I did some prototyping with Tinkercad. So really cool tool, not just 3D modeling, but also circuit design. Pretty awesome. So yeah, I got it working inside the house. I had like a little 3-volt battery connected to the breadboard. I had a switch that allowed me to turn the lights on and off, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think we got this. This is good enough. So I played with electronics a little bit in the past, especially when I was a kid. I was fascinated with any wires and batteries or whatever. Radio Shack, man, I lived at Radio Shack, buying all sorts of widgets and stuff to play with. But really basic electronics: batteries, wires, switches, light bulbs. That was it. Using masking tape to attach things. It was pretty funny. But that was where my passion for electronics came from back when I was a kid. Same as computers. So you get it all hooked up, and then we'll talk about the pins on the Arduino. So Arduinos have this rail, and there's all these little holes in it, and every one of them has a number. So this is how you can tell in your code, oh, I want pin 13, I want pin 12. So you basically put your wires in, and then you can tell your code what to do with them. Really handy. Like, there's a lot. Like, you'll be surprised at how many wires you could put into an Arduino and get it to do stuff. And so the breadboard, again, something I was watching in a YouTube video, and that's the other thing, is resources for electronics. If you've never done electronics before, YouTube, full of resources. So someone had a video, how do you make your light flash? And like, I didn't want my code necessarily to be looping power on, power off to a light. That didn't seem very effective. It's good for a prototype, but maybe not for production. So for the breadboard, I found that there's a resistor. So resistors are really cool. You could YouTube them up and see what they're all about. But they have like these little bands on them, and the bands mean certain things. You know how much voltage they resist, right? They basically help you dial down voltage. They can also help you control whether a light is on or off. So yeah, I found a YouTube video that showed me how to do that. So just trying to figure out. But for this, for the most part, prototype, Arduino, wires to lights, lights flash, and that's all we're doing. So yeah, so once I had it all hooked up, I was able to put the Arduino inside the chest. I then used a battery pack to just power the Arduino. Because the Arduino has two different ports on it. The Arduino has a serial port, which is the blue cable. That's how you get your data onto your Arduino. And don't forget, Arduinos can only do one program. So you write a program, you put it on your Arduino, and that's it. That's all your Arduino is going to do. Could be wrong, but that's all I've ever seen. It's good for one thing, which is fine. That program could be extensive, like the lower body on the Droid, and upper body on the Droid as well. It's one Arduino that has one program, but I can send commands to it. So I can make that program do different things based on the parameters I send to it. The lights Arduino, very dumb. It just says, I'm on, I'm doing my job, and it just runs through the cycle, and that's it. So you power the Arduino with either a 9-volt battery, so there's a connector that goes into the power port of the Arduino, and you can run a 9-volt battery to power it, or you can power it through the serial cable. So that hooks up to the Raspberry Pi. The Pi now is actually providing the power to the Arduino through the serial cable. So I don't need a battery there. Pretty fancy. So yeah, you get it all wired up inside the torso, and then your lights can work. You've got your switch, which I put in the backpack, on and off, and the lights work. So yeah, it was a super fun project. Never had done lights like this before. The head was obviously pretty obvious. Put a couple strips of LEDs in there, done. This was a bit more work of, I want them to flash, I need to power each of them, I'm gonna need, the Arduino involved, do I need a breadboard in there as well? And so a breadboard is great for prototyping. It's just no solder, you just plug it all in, get the rails all going, plug in a battery, literally in a couple minutes you can have stuff working, and you can move it around without committing to, oh, I soldered this is permanent. So yeah, that's the extent of some lights. Sorry, I'm blocking Cipher 5. You obviously want to see him more than you want to see me. And yeah, so that was lights. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of different things. Accent painting, because that was a lot of fun. I've never really been much of a painter. When I did models when I was a kid, honestly, I hated it. It was the worst. Putting the model together, gluing the model, I hated it. Painting the model, I didn't feel I never felt I was like an artist. I never felt I was good at painting. I could do like a base coat, like I could paint a bathroom, but I can't paint a model to look good. So this was very different, right? There's some styles in there, but again, accents, very simple, small feature pieces that look good. The orange on the sides of the shoulders that you can see. There's an orange strip at the back of the head. There's an orange lens on the back of the thermal detonator at the back, ammo pack. And so yeah, so accents we'll talk about, and then we're going to talk about the hips, how I made those, and the knees, because the hips were static, they didn't move. The knees were static, they didn't move. So I had to get some 3D modeling in there, slice them up in Tinkercad, and then figure out how am I going to get these things to turn. So those were some pretty fun journeys as well. That's it. Take care. Got the Arduino hooked up. It's running 6 lights. Pretty sweet.